Hey there, it's Sheryl here, and I wanted to share a quick story with you and also give you a couple tips to make sure that you are ready to shift. I was recently speaking with an industry expert who told me something very surprising. And that was it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks for pipelines to get full and to have gasoline available to people. And that means go out and fill up your car now because there might actually be a shortage for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And so here's why I bring this up. Just like we don't want to be left behind in our driveway with an empty tank when everyone else is starting to meander out for their summer vacations, even if they're just taking trips by car, what have you. We also don't want to get left behind. We don't want to get left behind our teams and our companies when we start to shift towards that next level of the new normal. Now, keep in mind the last 8 weeks during this pandemic, some people have been devastated and struggling. I get that, and I've heard it, and some of the stories are really horrific and sad. Some people on the other end of the spectrum have been actually liking the last 8 weeks because it's been a disruption in their schedule that's not sustainable. But either way, it has been challenging. But one of the things that the senior leaders are bringing up consistently that I'm working with is that there's a bit of a concern that people are settled into what they consider their new normal and they're not ready to shift. Now, keep in mind, there still is a lot of uncertainty. I know that 100%. But here's what I do know, and that is we are all starting to shift. Not we're all starting to shift, but businesses are starting to shift to the next level of normal. And we want to make sure that we are ready too, that we are ready, our teams are ready, and our companies are ready. Now, here's a couple questions that you can ask yourself and also ask your team to make sure that they are ready to shift so they are not really stuck in that level that they've been at the last few weeks. And this is especially important if you're in an industry that is going to pick up steam literally and figuratively in the coming weeks as we start to get used to that next level of normal. The first one is take a very clear inventory for yourself first. How am I doing in regards to my well-being, in regards to my productivity for my business, in regards to my relationships? How am I doing? It's also a great question to pose to your team and your family. Also, think of and ask yourself, what is a big ask, or what do I need help with right now? So if you know of someone on your team that's struggling, maybe their big ask needs to be to see a therapist. Maybe their big ask needs to, or maybe your big ask needs to, have a spouse sleep in the other room because you haven't slept in a few weeks and you just need quiet, just something super temporary. I don't know. Think of what your big ask is, what you need help with right now to get to that next level. Also, think about connecting to your big dream and aspiration. I know it's a really difficult time to think aspirationally, but this is the perfect time for us to rise, the perfect time. So even if we're struggling right now, think about how do I want this to turn out? How do I want the year to end? How do I want to feel? And really try and focus your mind there, and then get back to what is a tiny triumph that I can do today or this week? Okay, so just to recap so far, ask how am I doing? Ask how your family, how your team is doing in regards to business work, but also relationships, wellness. Also, what is a big ask? What do you need help with? And then finally, connect into your big dream or aspiration. And then connect and commit to something you have control over as a tiny triumph for the day or for the week. If you've fallen off if you're not working out anymore, then, and you want to feel more energetic, then commit to, walking around the block, commit to walking around your living room, commit to doing 10 sit-ups or whatever. Just start taking control of that and those tiny triumphs. And then finally, the last question that you can ask yourself and even pose to your team or your family is, who is depending on me right now to rise? Who is depending on me to rise? So for me, I feel like we're in the process of putting out, as you probably know or might not know, some digital content called Be Heard Now. And I have a sense of urgency because I think that this content is going to help empower women to save the world. So I'm like, okay, there's people depending on me, but also even within our families, who is depending on me to achieve that next level? So I'm talking about meeting you where you're at, not achieving Herculean task or making things too big. And I really want to honor you right now for doing your best up to this point. But as a coach, I want you to start to reflect with these 5 questions. How am I doing? What's a big ask? What do I need help with? What is my big dream, tiny triumph? And also, who is depending on me to rise? So we can reach and access that next level wherever we are. If we're doing amazing right now, good for you, but there's a next level. If you are struggling right now and you're just trying to get through the day, that's okay. You're not the only one, but start to ask yourself those questions and think, okay, meet yourself where you're at, give yourself some compassionate grace, and start to ask yourself, what is my next level? What do I need right now? And take control of that, because here is what I know with some certainty. The world is shifting towards that next level of normal. We want to make sure you and your team are ready, because when you're on that trajectory to the best version of yourself, even if you've got knocked back a couple notches, but when you get back on that trajectory towards the next best version of yourself, that is when we start to feel happy, and that is where our joy, creativity, productivity, and innovative ability lies. I am cheering you on here from San Francisco. Stay tuned, because if you want some help with these questions or tools or resources, worksheets for yourself or for your team, I'm going to start releasing some of my digital content here for my community right here into your inbox to you, to give kind of a sneak peek preview, to get your input, because we're going to be rolling it out next month, but I want you guys to see it first. So as always, I would love to hear from you. I answer all of my emails directly, and if I can help you or your team in any way, you know where to find me at Sheryl@SherylKline.com. And again, I am cheering you on. Keep up the amazing work, and I look forward to seeing you next time.